I wonder if everyone could take their seats. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Bloomington City Council to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence? Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Matthey.
Here.
Alderman Sage. Alderman Malumway.
Here.
Alderman Burgess.
Here.
Alderman Painter.
Here.
Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Black.
Here.
Alderman Hallman.
Here.
Alderman Bray.
Here.
Mayor Renner.
Here. Thank you very much. We start out first with our recognitions and appointments, and our first is a proclamation declaring September National Suicide Prevention Month. Is there someone here to accept this award? Proclamation, excuse me. All right. Well, let me go ahead and read the proclamation. National Suicide Prevention Month, whereas September is known around the United States as National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month and is intended to help promote awareness surrounding each of the suicide prevention resources available to us and our community. The simple goal is to learn how to help those around us and how to talk about suicide without increasing the risk of harm. And whereas suicide thoughts can affect anyone, regardless of age, gender, race, orientation, income level, religion, and background. And whereas, according to the CDC, each year more than 41,000 people die by suicide. And whereas suicide is the 10th leading cause of death among adults in the United States and the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 24. And whereas Bloomington, Illinois is no different than any other community in the country, but chooses to publicly state and place our full support behind our local educators, mental health professionals, our athletic coaches, PAC leaders, police officers, and parents as partners in supporting our community in simply being available to one another. And whereas local organizations like Suicide Prevention Services and national organizations like the National Alliance on Mental Illness are on the front lines of a battle that many still refuse to discuss in public, as suicide and mental illness remain too taboo a topic to speak on. And whereas every member of our community should understand that throughout life's struggles, we all need the occasional reminder that we are all silently fighting our own battles. And whereas I encourage all residents to take the time to inquire as to the well-being of their family, friends, and neighbors over the next year the next few days, and to genuinely convey their appreciation for their existence by any gesture they deem appropriate. A simple phone call, a message, a handshake, a hug can go a long way toward helping someone realize that suicide is not the answer. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Terry Renner, Mayor of the City of Bloomington, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2018 as Suicide Prevention Month in the City of Bloomington, and that hope that all citizens acknowledge and help curtail this horrible epidemic. And I believe, if I recall, if it was last year or the year before, more people died of suicide than homicide. And so we want to make sure that we keep all that in mind. Thank you very much. We'll move from that, and I'm going to turn this over to our city manager, Mr. Gleason. We have an oath of office and the appointment of Scott Rathbun as finance director. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott, if you would come up with your wife and your son. Scott's been the interim finance director for the last several months, and a couple of weeks ago he accepted the offer to be the permanent finance director, and I'm very excited. Great asset to the city, and really enjoying my short time here working with him and the fact that he accepted this position. Sherry?
If I can have you to raise your right hand, repeat after me. When I say I, state your name. I,
I, Scott Rathbun,
having been appointed to the office of
having been appointed to the office of
Finance Director
Finance Director
in the City of Bloomington,
in the City of Bloomington,
in the County of
in the
McLean,
County of McLean,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of
and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of
Finance Director
Finance Director
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Everybody just scrunch in there.
No pressure. All thumbs, right?
Is Mark's last name Alex?
I'll give this to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, Scott and Tim. Appreciate that. Next, we have the appointment of Mark Hulks to the Cultural Commission. And Mark, if you'd stand to be recognized, thank you so much for your willingness to serve. At this point, we move to public comment, and the first is Glenn Ludwig. Glenn?
Thank you, and good evening. Stick around? No. Okay, is that okay? I indeed am happy to speak this evening before this elected business leaders of the city of Bloomington. Say that again. The elected city, like elected finance, can't even say it. Anyway, I'm trying to get you out of the council thing here and talked about the idea that you're business leaders. Now, I get pushback from some people when I talk about the city being a business. But I will argue that point with anybody that wants to argue about it because I really think it is. The timing of this opportunity to speak really is a fit for me because I had a chance to get acquainted with your new financial management person. Scott is got some great experience. I had an opportunity to meet with him for over 2 hours, and another citizen who has a great deal of interest in the business of the city of Bloomington. He shared 2 hours with us. We learned a lot. I don't think we shared anything that he didn't already know. He's going to be great in this new position, and I'm excited about it. And I really like the idea that he's going to give this last meeting of the month update for the council because I think it's something that is badly needed. And I'm also excited that I read in the paper that we're looking for a new city budget manager. And golly, budget time is probably here, so it's a good idea to be looking for somebody like that. Well, as I mentioned earlier, I view you people as members of a City of Bloomington Business Leaders Group. And I hope that you're not put off by the fact that I'm trying to call you something other than council members. And the reason I'm doing that is I view your responsibility as elected by the citizens of Bloomington, and I believe the city of Bloomington is a business, and so I feel elected business leaders is appropriate. And sometimes when I observe these meetings and so forth, I don't see enough business talent and business focus exuding from your activities, so I'm kind of on a campaign here. Your primary role, as I see it, is you're elected by the citizens to take care and provide leadership to a over $200 million business, and that with a business focus being to satisfy and address and take care of delivering essential services to the citizens. I've got an email all written and ready to send to you. I'll hit the send button. When I get home this evening, I'll expand on some of my thoughts in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Marciniak?
Hi. Hi. I'm Nancy Marciniak. I want to tell you about the framework I use to think about the issue of affordable housing. I start with a reference point. That would be me. And I'm pretty sure everybody starts with self as a reference point for thinking about anything. Then I look for context. And so, starting with myself, I will be 69 in November. I worked for 40 years in the Chicago area. I moved to Bloomington in January of 2012. At the time, I was still recovering from a prolonged and complicated illness. I'm doing much better now, thank you. My income from Social Security after the Medicare deduction was $18,708 in 2017. And I had a pension benefit of $8,105.28 for a total of approximately $26,800. If Social Security remains viable, and there's some question about that evidently, so I hear, I can expect that portion of my income to grow modestly. The pension portion is fixed and will not grow. The Panagraph recently noted 3 levels of low income based on the area median income: low, very low, and extremely low. Using that reference point, I fall midway between very low and extremely low. I believe, I'm not sure, I looked it up once and I don't remember what it was exactly, but I believe I come in several $1,000s above the federal poverty reference point for an individual. And so, starting with myself, I have quickly become a demographic group, one of any number of demographic groups. And therein lies the context. At a special session last February 26th, I described to this body my concept of an economy and its relationship to a demographic balance between children, working adults, and seniors. As I see it, the economic and social viability of any size community, its ability to provide education, jobs, housing, healthcare, and all the other quality of life benefits is directly related to the health of that demographic balance between children, working adults, and seniors. Narrowing the focus just a bit, when I think about affordable housing, I think first of my own needs, first reference point. But I recognize that we are thinking about apartments, condos, and single-family homes.
I have to ask you to wrap up there because you're out of
We are
time.
thinking about new construction as well as the rehabilitation of older housing stock when appropriate. And so I spent the last few minutes telling you what you already know. The only new information I was able to tell you about in 3 minutes or less or a little bit more was in regard to my personal reference point. Thank you, and once again, I appreciate the forum.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, at this point, we move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that any member of the city council would like to have removed for separate consideration? Mr. Gleason.
Definitely not on the council, but we do need to pull F because the memo and the actual ordinance is in contradiction on the numbers. We can either table or we can amend. I'll call Jeff Juergens up and we can amend if council so chooses.
What I can do is ask for a motion that we may have another item to be pulled, but we will not have item F on that. Yes.
7J.
7F and 7J. Are there any other items that the council would like to have removed? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the exception of item 7F and 7J?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Alderwoman Painter, second by Alderwoman Schmidt. If everyone will go ahead and, I'm sorry. Oh, it was Howman. Oh. Okay, well, we do want it I think it matters to our city clerk. I'm sorry, I was looking the other way, so I thought it was Karen. Maybe I need to have this ear fixed. Okay, if you'll go ahead and vote on this issue, please. The motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And again, for a variety of reasons that our city manager alluded to, we're pulling item 7F, and that will be brought back at a future time. Okay. So we had item 7J, and I'm going to turn it over to Alderman Matthey.
I just need to recuse myself, Mayor.
Okay, already. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. So for the item that staff pulled, it just needs an amendment?
That is it. The numbers contradict one another. The ordinance, the memo is correct and the ordinance is not.
Okay.
The
ordinance
is correct, just on the agenda, the number.
That was it.
Oh, can we make just an amendment now and approve
Okay,
it?
let's
Sorry.
take care, since we've got Alderman Matthey outside of the room. Thank you very much for that point. If it's a simple fix, that's fine. Alderman Bray, were you going to make the motion?
I'll make a
have-
motion that we pass item 7J as outlined.
Okay, is there a second?
This time I will second.
Okay, this time seconded by Alderwoman Schmidt. Okay, if you'll go ahead and vote on this one, this is item 7, J, sorry. Okay. The motion carries 8-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. And if we can go ahead and bring in Jamie. Thanks, Jamie. And as you were out, one of the things that Alderman Black asked Mr. Gleason was about the item that staff was pulling, 7F. It seemed like that there was a possible quick fix, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Gleason. Did you want to tell us what that was, or have Mr. Juergens?
Go ahead, Jeff, and approach. And that way Sherry can record the actual numbers. That's incorrect.
Right, so on the agenda, it should have been a budget amount in the amount of $139,117 for revenues. On the agenda, there was a typo. It says 144,117. It's correct in the actual council memo and in the ordinance. So we just need a corrected motion to approve it in the amount of 139,117 for revenues and 139,117 for expenses. Those two numbers should match.
Okay. Is there a motion to do that? Moved by Alderman Black. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by, well, both Alderwoman Howman and Schmidt again. Let's do Alderwoman Howman this time. Second by Alderwoman Howman. Any discussion on this issue? Okay. All right. If you go ahead and vote on this item. And then we don't have to worry about bringing it back. The motion carries 9-0, no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. We move to our regular agenda. We have presentation and a memo of understanding with the Boys and Girls Club on a sale of 3.34 acres of the city land inside Sunnyside Park. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to our city manager, Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor. This was one that was actually in negotiations for quite a while before I arrived 7 weeks ago. And here we are tonight with a memorandum of understanding that we think is, very good for all parties involved and a part of the community that's underserved. We have representatives of the Boys and Girls Club that can come forward and speak a little bit. And then any additional questions of me or Jeff Juergens we'll take from council.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to just first thank Tim for stepping in and kind of getting caught up to speed on the conversation that we had many months ago. So the Boys and Girls Club, as you guys know, we make an impact in our community. We serve kids from the age of 5 to 18. And during my last report to the council and the community, I shared some statistics with everybody. Over the past 5 years, we've grown our membership by over 400%. We're in a situation this year where after 2 weeks of our after-school program, we've already had to start a waiting list for our K through 5 age group. So I appreciate your guys' support in this. I appreciate your guys' patience in this. And I appreciate everybody. The Parks and Recs have been amazing to work with. Jeff Juergens and his team have been amazing to work with. I think it's amazing to think about the futures that we can provide for our community. As we heard earlier, we talk about the sustainability of Bloomington, of Normal, and it's the youth in our community. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate your guys' questions, your guys' support throughout the process. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions? Alderwoman Schmidt.
I don't have a question, but I'm happy to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding as presented to us this evening.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay. Well, since she's been gone, I'm going to second. Alderwoman Painter, second by Alderwoman Painter. Any further discussion on this issue?
I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to a number of people, to Tony and Rex Schaefer, who's the board, Boys and Girls Club board president, and I've been working on this along with Jay Tetzloff and Steve Rasmussen, and Mayor, you've been on board right from the get-go, and I especially want to say thanks to Tim Gleason for just pulling this all together and moving it along. It's been a long conversation, and actually has some roots some years ago in a dream that the Boys and Girls Club had. So it's just a pleasure to see it move ahead, and thank you.
Couldn't have put it better, Alderwoman Schmidt. That's fantastic. This is great. I think win-win all around, not just for our West Side, but the youth in the future. But at this point, then, we do have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, if you'll go ahead and vote on this issue. Motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk, and we move on to item B. Thank you very much. Yeah, we wanted to clap, so I think it's worth a clap. Under item B, we have a consideration of an ordinance approving an agreement between the city and Iceberg Development Group, providing for a rental assistance program in support of redevelopment of the Bloomington Junior High School at 510 East Washington in the downtown East Washington Street TIF district. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Gleason.
Thank you, Mayor. Very quickly, and then I'll ask Austin Grammer to step to the podium as our Economic Development Officer for the city. And I know I've said this before, but this is a rare opportunity for our community. Oftentimes, you find old schools, old churches become very problematic for communities, and this investment that we're partnering with is a huge opportunity for us. What's before council tonight that Austin's going to walk through very quickly and share some of the positives as a result of this agreement is a component of this larger agreement. and that's what council will be asked to vote on tonight. Austin?
Thank you, City Manager Gleason, Mayor, City Council. Earlier in, actually last year, June 12th, 2017, was when the City Council approved the redevelopment agreement between the city and Iceberg Development for the redevelopment of the former Bloomington High School at 510 East Washington Street. That's proposed to be a $17 million project to renovate the building into approximately 57 age-restricted affordable housing units for seniors. The city will support that development through the rebate of 80% of the property tax generated by the subject property up to $1.3 million or 11.8% of the developer's investment in the property, whichever is less. The city will retain the other 20% of the TIF increment generated by that project within the TIF fund to hopefully spur other development and make city investment in the TIF area. As a component of the June 2017 redevelopment agreement was for the city to financially support a rental assistance program that would be targeted to 4 residential units in the project at the property for a period of 10 years, and that is the agreement that is before you tonight. Since the passage of the redevelopment agreement, the developer, Iceberg, has been busy working behind the scenes to advance this project forward. With city support in hand with the redevelopment agreement, the TIF incentives, the pledge for the rental assistance program, Iceberg was able to put in a really strong application to the Illinois Housing Development Authority, IDA, in order to secure low-income housing tax credits. It's really those LIHTC credits that make this project financially possible, to make it financially viable. And I'm very proud to announce news that you've already heard, in fact, that IDA awarded the project the low-income housing tax credits based upon seeing the city's strong support for the project. So this project is truly a win for the city, a win for the developer, and in IDA's opinion, it's a win for them and to provide affordable housing for those in need across the state. The terms of the agreement, specifically, it's a 10-year agreement supporting 4 units in the project, 2 studio units, 2 single-bedroom units. The maximum financial commitment of the city over the 10 years is $228,720. The amount of income that each of the tenants could have could vary from year to year. So in the event that the tenants are actually able to afford to pay more of their rent in some years than in less, it could actually be that over the 10-year agreement, the minimum amount of financial assistance the city could provide could be as little as $36,000. But again, the maximum over the 10 years is $228,000. The rental assistance program has certain guidelines as to who would be eligible. Has to be seniors that are 55 years old or older and meet certain income guidelines. Preferences for Bloomington residents that are veterans, and also preferences for just Bloomington residents in general are some of the different guidelines. The rental assistance program, the funds for this is not a TIF eligible expense. We cannot use funds from the TIF increment that are generated from the project. So these funds that we will use to support this, it's proposed, will be from the city's general fund revenues. This project is, again, a great project in the views of IDA. It also fulfills a number of the city's comprehensive plan goals as set out in the Bring It On Bloomington comprehensive plan. The major goal under the housing section of the comp plan was to ensure an adequate supply of affordable housing for low to moderate income households. One of the neat goals that was put out, or recommendations, was to identify creative solutions for affordable housing, such as home sharing, micro units, and tiny homes. Well, I think it can be pretty creative to renovate a former school building into affordable housing, and this is actually a very tested and proven use case. Even the city of Moline has supported a similar project with the renovation of a high school, and I'm aware of another developer that's working on a similar building project in Olney, Illinois. So also, the comprehensive plan states that we should increase the supply of affordable rental housing, especially in areas close to job centers, schools, and community facilities. Well, the downtown, our Bloomington Public Library, and the Performing Arts Center are all those community facilities. So this this project, this housing development will be in close proximity to those. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Questions on this project? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve this project?
So moved.
Moved by Alderwoman Howman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Schmidt, and I'm not making a mistake this time. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Okay, if everyone will go ahead and vote. The motion carries 8-1. There's one nay to announce, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Matthey.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move on to item 8C, consideration of an ordinance of fiscal year 2019 budget in the amount of $56,000 for the purchase of 9 vehicles from Morrow Brothers Ford of Greenfield, Illinois, using the State of Illinois joint purchase contract for the total amount of $360,910 as requested by the Police Department. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a budgeted item in our current budget, but we're requesting an amendment of $59,000 and some change to be able to purchase the 9 state bid SUVs for the police department. I've got Chief Wheeler if there's any additional questions.
Okay. Questions? Alderman Matthey.
So I don't have any questions about whether or not we need to buy the vehicles. I had questions. I know that we're using a State of Illinois joint purchasing contract on this one. I just want to know and make sure that every time we're buying things like this that we're asking our local vendors. My understanding is our local Ford dealer did not participate in the state contract, and I don't know the reason why, but I want to make sure that when we're purchasing these sorts of things that we're reaching out to them to ask, is there something that we need to be doing to help them participate in these? Because I think as much of our tax dollars as possible should stay local in the city of Bloomington if we possibly can. So, have we reached out to them? How do we do that? Can we reach out to them, and could we push this off 2 weeks and reach out and ask them? Because Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the majority of the specs from the card just come from Ford's fleet vehicle program, not necessarily, I mean, can every Ford dealer buy Ford fleet vehicle program cars like this, or?
Honestly, I don't know the answer to the question as far as the police interceptor package.
Okay.
Whether or not that's something that they can readily get or if it takes some time. As far as the bid process, they'd have to submit and be part of that contractual process ahead of time. I don't think it's something that we could achieve in 2 weeks, say, if we asked them.
So can we make it just as a general administrative function, can we make it a process, though, to start reaching out to companies that are our local companies and say, why are they not participating in these things? And this is not you, Chief, right? Tim, maybe this is you to say, why are our local businesses not participating in these things, and can we help them? And because I think we have an ordinance that says that we will give slightly preferential treatment to local bidders if they bid. So I just want to make sure we're not using joint purchasing contracts to go around giving those companies the option to bid.
Point taken. And actually at staff this morning we talked about this very topic. While we feel that we're on firm ground with the local preference ordinance that the council adopted, and sort of the logic behind the CMS, the state bid, is for the ease, the convenience, and the efficiency of bidding allows for staff to focus on other things rather than building, bid specs for an RFP or a bid process. But to your point, we can reach out and just find out from our local business owners why they are not a part of this, what they may be able to offer, and I actually directed Public Works Director Jim Karch to do that on this very topic this morning.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Okay. Moved by Alderman Matthey. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Alderman Black. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Okay, go ahead and vote. Motion carries 9-0. There are no nays to announce, Madam Clerk. Okay, and we move on. Mr. Gleason, City Manager's discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Looking forward to the upcoming events, and that's all I had tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. And just to clarify, as we have seen with Scott Sprawls right up here, that all IT systems are now functioning again, are voting video, audio, and are, just to clarify for the audience and for the media, for our council members, for the record, next week's COW, Committee of the Whole meeting, will start at 6 o'clock, again, just as a reminder. And we're going to begin an executive session after aldermanic comments in this location. When we come out of executive session, we will not be conducting any further public business. So, if you have other things to do, that's up to you. Okay. So, those are the only comments that I have at this point. Aldermanic comments. Alderwoman Bray, and then Alderwoman Howman, and we'll go around if there's others.
Well, I just wanted to say thanks to those that worked on the Labor Day Parade and those that participated and walked with the city. Thank you, Mayor, for walking with the city. And Jay, thanks to all your folks in Bloomington, Parks and Rec, and celebrating the 50th anniversary of Parks and Rec was very exciting, and definitely we had a good turnout showing up for Parks and Rec, so thank you all for that. And thank you to our city manager for walking in the Labor Day Parade, and I know other aldermen were there and participating. Alderman Karen Schmidt was there with the book bike, and Jamie Matthew was there. You were at the very front, carrying the parade, carrying the flag, and Alderman
He's
Howman.
got the clout.
So we certainly had a good turnout from the city, and it was just an exciting day. So just want to thank the community and all those that worked hard, because we showed up and we celebrated the important work that folks do here in Bloomington.
Yes, yeah, and Jay, thank you again for the 50-year anniversary, and thank you, Kim, for bringing that out. And it was, were we really walking? I thought we were running.
Yeah.
And it was hot, but anyway, thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
Awesome. Alderwoman Hellman.
Thank you. Just a reminder that meet and greet tomorrow night, 5:30 to 6:30 at Rolling Brook Park, and our special guest will be City Manager Gleason.
Awesome. Fantastic. Again, that time was?
5:30 to 6:30.
5:30 to 6:30 tomorrow. Okay. So if you're coming to our exciting episode of the Liquor Commission, we will be long done by the time we're done with that, and can certainly go over to an exciting episode of the City of Bloomington in Bowling Brook Park. So, Alderman Black.
Thank you. And Karen and I will be doing a meet and greet at the Jefferson Street Community House on the 18th from 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay. Again, just to clarify, that's West Side Jefferson Street, 5:30 to 7:30 on the 8th.
Howard and Jefferson.
Right, Howard and Jefferson. Okay. Anyone else? All right. At this point, do I have a motion to go into executive session for the items that are listed on our agenda? Well, actually, we don't have collective, it's claims, isn't it? Didn't we have an amendment? We have claims and then review of minutes. Okay. For those specific purposes to go into executive session. Is there a motion? Moved by Alderwoman Schmidt, second by Alderwoman Howman. And again, if everyone will go ahead and vote on that motion that's made. Oh, we're supposed to do that by voice. I apologize. Can't do that one by machine.
Alderman Bray,
Yes.
Alderman Mathy,
Yes.
Alderman Sage,
Yes.
Alderman Malamoy,
Yes.
Alderman Burgess,
Yes.
Alderman Painter,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt,
Yes.
Alderman Black,
Yes.
and Alderman Hallman.
Yes.
Okay. Right, we're going to move into executive session with the exception of the staff that need to be here. Thank you.
We staying up here now?
We're going to stay up here.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry. We're staying right here. We don't move. Yeah. I was supposed to say that during mayoral comments. But we are going to be asking you all to move. I'm sorry.